Hey everybody, this is Steve Ninja. I've got a special guest today. His name is the Wilmeister, also known as Wilson.
Mhm.
Uh, he's from Indianapolis. That's where I am from as well. And it's really exciting to meet somebody else from Indiana here. But today we're going to give our top 20 superhero movies or comic book based movies, kind of a combination of that. So we're going to get right to it. And we've had some practice on this, but Wilson, go ahead and start with your number 20, and you do 20 through 16, and then I'll take over and do mine as well.
Okay, okay. Number 20 is Orgasmo, the Z. Despite the title and the plot, it's not an adult film,
Yeah,
but it is centered around the adult film industry, I guess. Even the final climax is on an adult film set, but it's about the same people that gave us South Park, like Matt Stone, I believe. Yeah,
Hey Parker. Yeah,
right, but yeah. And basically, a down on his luck dude creates a character named Orgasmo, and he takes off in the adult film world.
mm-hmm.
So somewhere along the line, he gains the same powers, which you can guess what they are, and he then has to use those powers to fight the adult film industry and keep his property. It's weird and crazy and awesome, and I love it.
Yeah. They're supposed to be like Mormons, I think. Like they go
Yeah,
door to door, that kind of thing. Yeah, I think it was like right before South Park. I think they did that movie, and then they got South Park like shortly after that. But
yeah.
obviously South Park's obviously an iconic TV show. But okay, what's your number 19?
Number 19. Okay. My number 19 is The Toxic Avenger. Speaking of low budget, again, it's crazy. It's fun. I love it. It's a lot of, it's a trauma movie, but there's themes in there like bullying and everything. And the Toxic Avenger, he has all these powers, but his most important power is just hates bullies, you know? And it starts out as more, it's not even about revenge. It's just about him wanting to fight justice. It's almost a bloodlust with him. Uh, and you stick with the franchise. It's mostly good. It's mostly good. You see a lot of development from Trauma. That's saying a whole lot. So yeah,
Yeah, I think it's their most popular movie.
yeah,
Like I said, I mentioned earlier that previously that they've got like four of those movies, and they're all coming out on Blu-ray and 4K sometime this year. So it's obviously a classic if they're releasing it that way. But okay, what's number 18?
18 is one I actually have, The Scribbler.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the front of it. And what attracted me to this is the cast. What I didn't know is this is actually based on a graphic novel, and it's a superhero novel. But when I watched this, I didn't feel superhero. It was more of a psychological horror. But this cast, like Katie Cassidy, Michelle Trachtenberg, Michael Imperioli, Gina Gershon, Eliza Dushku, Kuno Nayar, and Sasha Grey. My goodness. Um, and I remember when we talked about this before, you mentioned Eliza Dushku was on Buffy, but so
Mhm.
was Michelle Trachtenberg. That was her sister, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I love that show. Late 90s, early 2000s.
Yeah.
Definitely ahead of its time. A female hero in the movie, a vampire killer. Love that. But what's your number 17?
Number 17 is okay. Uh Wonder Woman 1974. I watched this back when I did those reviews for all the Wonder Woman movies, or so I thought, up until Wonder Woman 1984. Um, and I started with this one, the original Wonder Woman, not not the other woman. This is Kathy Lee Crosby of the legendary Crosby acting family. Not that Crosby acting family. She's of no relation to Bing Crosby or Denise Crosby.
Hmm.
Yeah. But
Right.
yeah, she's Wonder Woman, and Wonder Woman, if you see the cover of it, which Steve will put up, um, she looks a bit different with the blonde hair and like the USA thing, like tracksuit almost. That's because this Wonder Woman was based on what they did with her back in the 60s, which was take away all her powers and everything that made her Wonder Woman and make her basically a spy with good fashion sense, which was a mixed decision at best. Some are saying, well, good. She kept up with all these heroes, these guys with no powers, for others like, but she wasn't Wonder Woman, though, like at all.
Right.
And this was a pilot movie, was never picked up, and it becomes wide towards the end. It didn't have the biggest budget. But it's a good movie. I say watch if you're a big fan of Wonder Woman or DC. And as I said before, fun fact: a young Marlon actress named Linda Carter auditioned for the role but didn't get it. So
Yeah, so that ties into your number 16.
it does because
Now,
number 16 is Wonder Woman 1975, which does star Linda Carter. And I grew up watching the TV show, but I never saw the movie until I did those reviews. And wow, like I was very impressed, like with everything, like the action and the comment. Like I grew up with the show, but like what they were doing, like I'm pretty sure the WWE wouldn't put the woman through that. Like they were throwing each other through stuff, and it was fantastic. Uh, one thing I will mention, I didn't mention before, Wonder Woman 1974 is there was a black Amazon that kept showing up, and I thought that was Nubia, her black twin sister. It wasn't. It was a random Amazon, but there was one woman who showed up who looked just like Wonder Woman as you know her now. That's because she was supposed to be, or they gave her Nubia story, but she's not black. And yeah, they changed her name because Nubia, that literally means black. But in this movie, in Linda Carter's movie, they actually kind of set her up, but unfortunately, it never happened when the show came along. So we still don't have a Nubia depiction.
yeah,
Happy Black History Month.
I definitely need to check those out and to
Yeah.
understand that because I don't know that far back. Comic book based shows. I know the Batman TV show, but besides that, I don't really know anything before Superman 78.
Oh,
So I
speaking of
definitely
the Batman TV show, sorry about that. Actually, well, Cathy Crosby is the original Wonder Woman. There was one woman before her who filmed like this very short, I guess, treatment for it. It's on YouTube, and it would have been a Wonder Woman TV show in the style of the Adam West TV show.
Mhm.
It didn't work out. It's terrible.
So it would have been like campy like that.
Yeah,
But that was perfect for the 60s. I don't know if in the
yeah,
70s that would have worked as well. But
yeah,
at that time, it was, it just campiness kind of worked in that decade, but not so much in the 70s. But so I'm going to give my number 20 here. This one, very controversial kind of comic book based movie from DC Comics. It's Watchmen. This is from 2009. It's definitely really dark. It's not really a superhero kind of thing. You have
no,
Patrick Wilson was kind of the good guy, one of the good guys in it, but a lot of them are not really all that good. You've got Jackie Earl Haley is kind of this detective character that's kind of out for justice, but at the same time, he's not really a good guy either. He's really dangerous, that kind of thing. And Billy Crudup plays like the main character, Dr. Manhattan, I guess. But yeah, really dark kind of comic book based movie, but not really a superhero kind of. They're supposed to be superheroes, but they're not really. They're not really out to really help people all that much. They've kind of given up. It's sort of. But so number 19, I have Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. This is from 2022, kind of polarizing kind of movie. But I really enjoyed this. It's more like a horror movie. It's directed by Sam Raimi. He did a lot of horror like in the 80s and
yeah,
horror off and on, a lot of the Evil Dead movies. But like I said, it's kind of polarizing, but I thought it was great. Like the Black Bolt, I'd never seen that character before, and I thought that was great.
yeah.
Great how what happens
That
to him.
was oh yeah, that was yeah,
Professor X. Just I love it when they go to different the multiverse, different planets, planet Earth, and meet different. Reed Richards, that Carrie John Krasinski plays that character, and just what happens with him. So a lot of people were really excited to see that in the movie. So at number 18, I have X-Men First Class from 2011. This is obviously they had the original Hugh Jackman cast, and then they went kind of back and showed like the earlier versions of Professor X and Magneto in X-Men First Class. But love that one. But number 17, I have Batman Returns from 1992.
your first non-polarizing pick. Okay.
This is Tim Burton's second movie in the Batman franchise with Michael Keaton. I was in the first Batman. Michael Keaton took second billing to Jack Nicholson, but in this, it has Danny DeVito as the Penguin, and has Michelle Pfeiffer as a Catwoman. So, and some people kind of consider this to be sort of like a Christmas movie in some ways, as it takes place like in snow and that kind of thing. I don't really consider it that way, but there are
I didn't know it was.
yeah. I consider Die Hard to be more of a Christmas movie than
Yeah.
Batman Returns, but it does kind of have a Christmas kind of look to it. But at number 16, I have X-Men from 2000. This is the beginning of Hugh Jackman as Wolverine. It's kind of a stripped down version, not a real high budget necessarily, but I think it really kind of it's effective. I think for an X-Men movie, just the first one. If this movie didn't do well, then the other ones wouldn't happen. So it was important for this one to set off the franchise the right way. But
Hey, did you see that blooper? Where they're filming the scene and then Tobey Maguire shows up as Spider-Man?
yeah, I've seen
That
that.
was
Yeah,
hilarious.
I've
Yeah,
seen that. Okay, what's your number 15?
15. Yeah. It is Daredevil. All right. It is the Ben Affleck one, not the one on Netflix. Uh, I like this movie. Yeah, it's not good. Um, Spider-Man the year before did better swinging around the city shots. There's a whole lot of evanescence, which I like that. I like as there's not too much really happening here, and it's one of the reasons I don't really like when people who are thing do movies with each other because it just feels weird watching it. The whole fight scene they have where they're fighting with each other, but who's supposed to win that? She wins, beat a blind dude. He wins, you beat a girl.
Right.
She loses, you got beat by a blind dude. He loses, you got beat by a girl. A point Michael Clark Duncan makes at the end. He's like, I know who you are. I'm telling everybody. He said, good. Tell him you got beat by a blind dude. It's like,
Yeah, so Electra, he takes her on. They're kind of what a match in that movie. Yeah, I thought Ben Affleck
yeah.
was pretty good as Daredevil. Uh,
Uh, for the most part, yeah. And then this is one of the few movies uh that where they made the decision to take a character who's not black and make him black. Because Michael Clark Duncan, he was that good. Like
right.
and then Samuel Jackson is easy to accept because that's accurate. Like that's Ultimate Nick Fury, who is based on Samuel Jackson. That's how he got the part actually. So yeah.
Right. A lot of people know Michael Clark Duncan from the Green Mile. Obviously, know that
Yeah.
character. He died really young, so that
Yeah.
kind of just sad that he's gone. But what's your number 14?
All right, number 14 is The Reason I Dressed Up.
Oh yeah, yeah. About the Superman, yeah.
The Batman Superman movie. All right. Not the live action one, the animated one from the 90s. I remember as a kid watching this and just losing my mind, right? Kevin Conroy's Batman beating Tim Daly's Superman. And when they first met, from that moment on, wow, like when Batman played with Superman and the face he made, like, who in the world is this dude? And then it was like, they said you were crazy. They didn't say you were stupid. Like, that was the relationship. Like Batman started dating Lois, Superman was dating, I think, Talia. It was weird. They were just one upping each other while trying to fight Joker and Lex Luthor. It's fun. That's how it should have been in live action, you know. You want to know why they don't like each other? There you go.
Yeah, that's
And
right.
this was a pilot movie, which led to that awesome Batman Superman show back in the 90s. So yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely a nostalgia for sure. Yeah, definitely. If you watch cartoons in the 90s, it's definitely one of the big ones. Okay, what's your number 13?
Number 13 was Spawn, naturally. Um, so Spawn came out when I was a kid, and I believe Spawn's one of those R-rated movies that's really for kids. Like there was a lot of those back then for whatever reason. And even with these cuts, and I'm like, the way he said it was child friendly. But yeah, a lot of people want to talk about the cape. I'm fine with it. I don't care. I'm not going to compare it to what we have now. The cape is fine. It's a
Right.
really cool weapon if you know what it is. Uh, I think Michael Jai White did a fantastic job, but obviously, like the star of the movie was
John
John
Wick.
Leguizamo as the Violator.
Right. I
It's
think
an
I saw two
under,
movies with him last year, John Leguizamo. I
yeah,
saw The Menu and Violent Night. Yeah,
yeah.
he's still doing it, and he's grown over on me over the years. He's kind of iconic now that you've seen him in so
Yeah.
many movies. For now, was in his early 60s now, something like that.
Is
So
he? Wow.
I think so. I'm not totally sure about that, but he's been around for a long time though.
Yeah.
Actor, Let's see, what was your number 12?
All right. This is one that Steve didn't know about.
Oh,
Yeah. The specials. All right. It's
right. Yeah.
basically what if the Justice League or the Avengers had a day off? And you can see on the cover, you got Rob Lowe as he looks kind of like New 52 Superman. You got Jamie Kennedy, looks like Nightcrawler, Thomas Hayden Church before he went Marvel, Jordana Brewster, Judy Greer, and the second the action picks up is when it ends. That's hilarious to me. And this was written by James Gunn, by the way. So
Right. That's right.
he's been doing it longer than we think. So yeah.
Yeah, he runs DC now, and yeah, he's done a lot of writing over his career.
1 second. I think this is rated R, right? And check out this review. There's something about Mary meets the X-Men. So
Really,
yeah.
yeah.
All right.
I love that. There's something about Mary for sure.
Me too.
Okay, and what's your number 11?
11. It's Justice League, but not the live action one.
Mhm.
The animated one, the pilot movie for that awesome show. Again, it's from back in the 90s. Again, Kevin Conroy's Batman, Tim Daly's Superman. I think Daniel Delaney's Wonder Woman, Phil Lamar's uh, Green Arrow, not Green Arrow, Green Lantern, and also his Martian Manhunter and Maria. I'm not gonna pronounce her last name. Her Hawk Girl. Like all of them coming together. We see that this was how you do that. Like not only is it them coming together, but it's them setting up that show. Okay, and this is the Justice League to me. So yeah.
Yeah, it's probably yeah. It was kind of hit or miss with the Zack Snyder and Joss Whedon Justice League, but there's some good stuff about that movie too. But yeah. I know what you mean though. It didn't make my list today, but yeah. So okay, so 15 for me. I have Batman Begins, which is I just have a box set here. It's the first one. Definitely a dark comic book based movie. This is from 2005. Christian Bale. I thought he was a good Batman. I like at least the first two in this franchise from Christopher Nolan. But definitely it's a number 15. So I've got these in box sets here, but so number 14 I have Superman 2 from 1980, and obviously this has the whole box set has like everything in it.
Yeah, I was going to ask about that because I have the same box set, right? But mine appears to be smaller. Like it's the size of this. Like it's like yours is fatter. I don't know why.
I found this at like FYE like 6-7 years ago. It was like $20 for this whole thing. It comes with like Superman Returns. It has that's not a popular movie, but it comes with everything.
I was going to ask. Mine comes with a Donner cut of Superman too. Does yours come with both cuts or?
It comes with a Donner cut as well. Yeah.
Oh, so not the Lester cut.
It has that. It has the Superman 2 and the Donner cut as well.
See,
has everything.
Set I want.
Yeah, for $20, it's like when I saw that, like I mean, it was used, but when I saw it, actually, I think it was new. The case, the box is kind of dented up a little bit, but I thought when I saw that, I thought I gotta pick that up. I had never had those on Blu-ray and had never had the Superman movies on Blu-ray, so I definitely had to get it at the time. So number 13, I have X2 X-Men United from 2003. I thought this is a much larger budget than the first X-Men. Like I said, if the first X-Men didn't do well, X2 wouldn't have been made, and the whole franchise wouldn't have worked. But a lot of people didn't like Hugh Jackman. Some people like Hugh Jackman. Some people were kind of disapproved that he wasn't like the comic. But then a lot of people really grew to really like Hugh Jackman and that character. And like we said, I mentioned before I did my other ranking video from 2004 to 2019, I thought maybe when he played Logan that might be the last time he ever plays Wolverine. But apparently now he's going to come back in Deadpool 3. So I don't know if he's going to do any more after that. It may be a one-off thing. But Ryan Reynolds wanted him to. He's been begging him to come, to play Wolverine again, and so he finally just broke down and just went ahead and did it. But so it's number 12. I have the 2002 Spider-Man, which is this. This is Sam Raimi, his first entry in Marvel. I really like Tobey Maguire as Spider-Man. I grew up with that. It's definitely my Spider-Man. Really, the Tobey Maguire's version. He did 3 movies and then came back again later, which I'll talk about that movie later on. But yeah, definitely Sam Raimi definitely did a good job in 2002 with those effects. Effects had come a long way since Jurassic Park, back in 1993. But it looks really good though. number 11, I have Logan. Like I mentioned, Logan. At the time, we thought that this was the last time we'd ever see Hugh Jackman play the character, but and this movie is definitely a dark movie. It's rated R. They actually show blood, and stuff people were begging to see for a long time, and it's definitely a really dark version of Wolverine, and kind of. I think it's kind of good that he's coming back in Deadpool 3 because he can kind of end the character more on a high note. But I definitely love this, and just to show this version of Wolverine and show a darker version of the character, I thought was cool to see that at the time. But maybe not the best way to end the character. It was kind of sad, bittersweet kind of thing. But okay, so what's your number 10?
Okay, it is Spider-Man: No Way Home.
Yeah,
Uh, I mean, that's of all the multiverse movies we got, that's one of the better ones as of late. Like that one in Spider-Verse, but the think about this. That one, like, um, this is what was Spider-Verse was supposed to be. Like early on, we were hearing like Toby and Andrew were going to come back for that one, but they didn't. So they're back for this one and in live action. That's better. And they did the Goblin right, just a hoodie. Who knew? A hoodie and bum Defoe's face. That's all you needed.
right.
Um, and the other characters did too. There were some surprises even I didn't know about. And when I watched it for the first time, I was all over the place, with excitement. And and I'm one of those people who didn't initially like Garfield as Spider-Man, but this movie changed that for me.
Yeah, I don't love those two Spider-Man movies he did, but I really liked him as Spider-Man. I just didn't like the story, just the way they were laid out. I think it may have Mark Webb was the
Yeah,
director. I thought maybe he might have been kind of the way he did it. I don't think he did it extremely well, but I thought I liked Andrew Garfield as the character, and I loved seeing him in Spider-Man: No Way Home. I thought that was a great way to bring him back, and I thought his character, the way he played the character was done with respect, and the fans really loved it. Just in that ensemble showing those three Spider-Men with Tom Holland all together, I thought really worked. Okay, what's the next one?
my next one is number 9, and that's RoboCop.
Oh, yeah,
Uh, yeah, like I said before, I own all 8 of these movies. Yeah, there are 8 of these, not 4. Um, and I don't have it here with me, but the first 2 movies are ones I watch all the time. And that first one, my goodness, man, like watching it as a kid, I was in it for the action, the blood, and the jokes and everything. As an adult, the commentary so good, and that would still hold up. And I can say the same for the second movie. Uh, RoboCop became one of those franchises that kids like myself grew to like so much that they made it basically a children's franchise for a while until sci-fi got hold of it, made it R-rated again, and put the commentary back and everything. But people don't want to talk about that one for whatever reason. Didn't remake, but whatever. But RoboCop, the first movie, that's
yeah.
the one.
Yeah, that RoboCop is really it's really violent, but it's kind of comical in a lot of ways. It's like it's over the top, kind of like what like John Wick sort of is now. It's just so over the top. It's like you kind of laugh at it, like it's like wow. But yeah, that time in was like 87, whatever, when the first one was.
Yeah.
I was just a kid. I was only like 14 at the time. For me, that was like wow. I'd never seen anything that violent before. But yeah, I love the first RoboCop. Definitely. Okay, what's your number 8?
Number 8, Blade 2. Um, it was a real toss up. I had a real hard time between putting the first Blade on here or the second one, but I chose the second one because it's just a bit better. Um, and Guillermo del Toro, he directed it, so the horror is really good, like, really effective, and the story they told was good, right up to the end there. And I think Ron Perlman did it as well, but they made him unlikable, but he's still
Right.
likable to me. Like I don't care, but yeah,
Also had Norman Reedus from The Walking Dead
yeah,
as well. But it's like nobody knew who any of those guys were at the time. Del Toro went on to be this big Oscar-winning director and doing all kinds of different genres. And he definitely became. I like his directing a lot more. And then like the first one, I thought some of the special effects were the CGI was not great in some scenes with Steven Dorff. Some of that doesn't hold up real well. But I like the first one a lot, though. I mean, I like the way it's set up. Okay, what's your next pick?
it is Batman '89 again. I had a real difficult time, but you covered me. It was between this or Batman Returns. I chose the first one because like it depicts what no other movie depicts, which is Bruce Wayne snapping and losing his mind. It's something he loves to criticize Superman for, but like he does it too. But you don't ever see any other depiction, and I love that. And of course, Michael Keaton, perfect Batman, my favorite Batman. Um, and I'll talk about more of him later. But yeah, and Jack Nicholson's Joker, my favorite Joker. Um, and at first I didn't like how it was Joker who killed his parents, but then I saw Joker and I'm like, I suppose. But I
Yeah.
mean, I watched this one more than I watched Batman Returns, only because I just love the journey of Bruce Wayne throughout the whole movie. Michael Keaton just every time, man, every time.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Yeah, like so it's mentioned earlier that Michael Keaton got second billing to Jack Nicholson just because
Yeah,
Nicholson was such a huge star already, and Michael Keaton was just kind of becoming, a big star at the time. But okay, what's your next pick?
it is the Black Scorpion.
Right.
Speaking of Michael Keaton, the Black Scorpion is basically a ripoff of his Batman movie. It's a Roger Corman, so like that's what he does. Um, Instead of Michael Keaton being awesome, you got Joan Severance here, a beautiful woman, being a beautiful woman, but also a superhero. And it's literally the same story. But a fun fact is Adam West is in here as the villain, and he leads an army of asthmatics. I think that's awesome. As an asthmatic myself. Uh, but yeah, this is what they call an erotic movie. It's not. It's more an actual movie, save for one scene, which I should warn you about. The Black Scorpion in full superhero costume goes to see her love interest, but they're never officially a thing, not in this movie, the sequel, or the show. But she goes to see him, and then she uh, bees with him um, while he's asleep. Yeah, it's like they never official. He was asleep. And also they're both cops, which yeah, but he's a cop though. But Black Scorpion, unlike Batman, doesn't have that pesky I'm not going to kill you, but I won't save you either. Like, no, she'll murder you in a second. Like, she'll even say if it needs to be done. I'm like, but you're a cop though. Like that, but you're a cop though. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. Roger Corman was definitely took the trends and made it. He's still alive. I think he's like
yeah,
95 that now, 96. He's still living with he made a career out of definitely doing that, trying to make low budget movies like that can turn a profit. He's a master of that. A lot of film. Like James Cameron worked for him at one time. Rock and Roll High School. I think James Cameron did like not to get into that so much, but he was like a PA at the time, and he started off really small and working for Roger Corman. There's a whole documentary about Roger Corman that I own that it's really good. But okay, so what's your next pick?
All right, the next one is once again talking about Michael Keaton, Justice League, The Flashpoint Paradox. Like if you saw that trailer this past weekend, there's a movie about the same thing. A lot of it is the same. If you want, it's really good and really dark. Somehow PG-13. It's violent, like very violent. This is the movie that made me like The Flash because before, I got a younger brother who loves The Flash. And I was just like, whenever he bring it up, I'd be like, he's a dude that runs fast. Superman can do that too, and so much more. Then I watch this, I'm like, oh, The Flash is awesome. Okay, so yeah, and also, like I said, Michael Keaton, favorite Batman, but overall, Thomas Wayne, my favorite Batman, because he doesn't lie about what he's about. Again, he doesn't have a "I'm not going to kill you." Like I said, no, he'll shoot you in the head for looking at him. Like he knows who he is, what he's about. I like that. So yeah,
Was that your number six?
it was
Number six. Okay.
number six.
All right. So my
That was number five actually. I'm sorry.
that was number five. Okay, that's fine. Okay, so my number 10 is Batman 1989. We talked earlier.
Yeah,
Definitely, like everything I said before, Jack Nicholson and Michael Keaton at the time. This is definitely a different type of Batman, different from the Adam West version that most kids knew at the time. It was definitely the adult version of that. So, but yeah, everything we talked about before, that's what I have number 10. Okay, number 9, I have X-Men Days of Future Past. Definitely like this, joining the first class cast with the original cast, which wasn't first class, but you had Hugh Jackman going from present day back to 1973. I love the way they did that. This as far as the X-Men, it's probably this and Logan, and probably as far as the later X-Men movies, definitely the ones I like the most, and that time period. It has Peter Dinklage in it from Game of Thrones. He's an elf. Number 8, I have the Batman from 2022. This is Robert Pattinson, from the Twilight series, playing Batman. Zoe Kravitz plays Catwoman. You had Colin Farrell as Penguin, and then nobody could recognize Colin Farrell in this movie, and he's nominated for an Oscar now. But definitely a darker, really long movie, but kind of that prime Batman being kind of a true detective kind of character that nobody had ever seen before. Kind of different take on Batman, and I think Robert Pattinson might come back for another one. It sounds like he might, but James Gunn, I don't think he's going to mess with this so much. It's not going to have anything to do with the timeline that he's working with now, as from what I understand. But we'll see if they actually do release the Batman 2 or whatever with Robert Pattinson later.
You said Colin Farrell's in that?
Colin Farrell, he plays Penguin.
Penguin. Okay, because he's Bullseye in Daredevil. So
right, he is.
yeah.
So he returned, Daredevil's Marvel, but you wouldn't recognize him. He's wearing so much makeup that you wouldn't recognize him, but he's really good as Penguin in this. So. Number 7, I have Captain America: Civil War. I love this. It's kind of like I consider this to be like Avengers 2.5, kind of that. It doesn't have Thor or Hulk in it, but it has everybody else. It has like we mentioned, it has Black Panther, the first entry of showing Black Panther in a Marvel movie. Really love seeing Chadwick Boseman as that character in action. I love that character in action. I had Spider-Man, Sony had loaned Spider-Man to Disney. I'm sure, I don't know how much it cost Disney to get him in their movie, but that kind of tied in the Tony Stark kind of storyline that was always missing, because obviously Marvel's been split up into different studios own Marvel, a lot of characters, and it was split up. So it was cool to see Spider-Man in this, and I love the action in this. This is, like I said, I consider it to be like Avengers 2.5. I have at number 6, I have Superman from 1978.
Yeah.
Iconic, Christopher Reeve, Richard Donner at the time, just taking the effects in this movie are so ahead of their time from 1978. That scene with Superman, like when he stops on the sidewalk and starts kind of drilling into the pavement, just that kind of effect, that had to speed the camera up to do that, but it looks so great. Even it still holds up on Blu-ray when you watch that now. So definitely, I think you'll probably talk about that movie again later. But
maybe.
Okay. So that was number 6. So you have your number 4 coming up. Go ahead and give your number 4.
Yeah. My number 4 is, well, you just talked about Spider-Man 2002. As much as I love No Way Home, and as much as I like Tom Holland, Toby is Spider-Man to me. This one has a special place in my heart. And this is like, people say Spider-Man 2 is the best one. I think it's this one. I mean, where else are you going to see Spider-Man versus Macho Man Randy Savage? Come on. Yeah. So Macho Man Randy Savage did his own stunts for that fight, and he hurt himself. But then he to the point where if you want to talk to him, he moved like Michael Keaton. Like he couldn't move, but that's how much he loved doing it. And he did stuff before, but he loved doing it. He even rapped about how much he liked it on his underrated album, his rap album. Yeah. And then you got the Goblin, who was a good choice for first villain, despite the poor choice in his look, the Power Rangers look.
A lot of people complained about that at the time, and like I said, Spider-Man No Way Home they fixed that in a lot of ways.
Yeah, even the love story is good, at least here in the first one. As much as I do like her, Kirsten Dunst, Mary Jane. No.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, what's your number 3?
Number 3, Speaking of Power Rangers, Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, the movie from 1995. You were a 90s kid. You swore about this movie. This movie was basically your life. I've seen it so many times. I can quote it so much. Man, I, this movie means so much. Like, I remember when I first rented it, when I first seen it on TV, all these, like, is it the best movie? To some, no, but to me, it's a masterpiece of what it is. Like, it's one of those movies, not afraid to be what it is. For instance, there's one from 2017 that tried to be Iron Man, basically, and it failed. Power Rangers are a bunch of kids in spandex fighting monsters. Like, that's what the movie is. Just a bit of armor. And Tommy, rest in peace, Jason David Frank, he was so cool in this movie. They all were. Uh, yeah, that's really good, really good.
Yeah, and you got to meet the Blue Ranger
I did, yes.
not too long ago. Yeah, and I got to see that on Wilmeister has a YouTube channel as well, and you can go on there and you can see where he was in the hospital not too long ago, and he got to meet the Blue Ranger, and it was really exciting. It was on his birthday. It's just kind of sad to be in the hospital on your birthday, but at least that kind of cheered you up. I think it looked like it cheered you up quite a bit.
Oh yeah, that was from my friends did that. My friend Emma, a spooky astronaut, she sent me a message saying I was trying to contact you, and I opened it, and I'm like, I should probably react to this, and so I did. And then she sent that to me for my birthday, and because yeah, I was in the hospital, and there are still tributes to Tommy being born out. So it was a pretty difficult time. But it wasn't too bad back there in the hospital. The nurses got me gummies after they stopped apologizing, made me a card. It was great.
Yeah, made the best of it. Best
Yeah.
of that bad situation. Yeah, definitely. What's your number two?
My number two, for a second, I thought I missed, but it is the one exception on my list. It's not a comic book movie, but it is adapted from comics. It's Men in Black. If you watch it, it'll say based on the Marvel comics because Marvel brought out the company that used to make the Men in Black comic books. And I saw this back in '97 at the drive-in when it came out. That song was everywhere. I must have heard it 4 or 5 times before I got to the theater. Again, when I got to the theater, because they were playing it a lot. Again, when I left, and it was great. And the movie is so fun. I can quote that too. Um, and, like Will Smith's great, Tommy Lee Jones is great. The rest of the music is great. Even Linda LaFlorentino is controversial. She was great. Will Smith, he's controversial. It's great. Rip Torn, also kind of controversial. He
Right.
was great. Yeah, yeah, and I remember back in '97 or '96 when they were promoting this movie, and Will Smith and Mikey were promoting like they were like a buddy comedy. But when you see the movie, Mikey don't survive the opening credits, and I'm still upset about that because I didn't know anything about Tommy Lee Jones. I mean, he's cool. I like him, but I was
Right.
expecting Mikey. Mikey's the alien at the beginning who gets blown up. So yeah,
Right.
and then yeah,
Yeah, and I really like the first one. I like a second Men in Black movie. Definitely like the first two. Really, none of them are bad, really. But yeah, the first one stands out the most for me, for sure. You have some honorable mentions as well. You
I
want
do.
to?
Yeah. And I'm glad we're doing a take two because I actually forgot some that were just sitting here. The first one being Ninja Turtles 2, Secret of the Ooze. Uh, this is
The
one
one
of my
with Vanilla Ice is
with
a
Vanilla Ice. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. And Kevin Nash at the end, the Super Shredder, which is great. My brother used to watch this movie all the time. And that's how I got into it in the Ninja Turtles. Um, this movie, again, like RoboCop, the first movie was good. But people complained that it was too dark or whatever, and so they made it lighter. But this is still great. It got worse, but this is still, yeah. And everything, the effects are great, thanks to Jim Henson. Again, worst down the line. Everything's fantastic. But the second movie I like, although it's around Casey Jones, right? I'm not the biggest Casey Jones fan, but he was almost likable. So yeah.
Hmm. Yeah, that's a good one. They were big. Was that in the '90s or was it early '90s, something like that? I don't remember. At that point. I was like 92. I was like 19. So at that time, I was kind of a little bit different. What I was watching at that time was a little bit different. But okay, what's next honorable mention?
Next honorable mention was again uh not a superhero movie, but it is based on comic to Archie comic. You can see Archie Return to Riverdale. This was the first time Archie went live action. It stars Christopher Rich, the Reba's ex from her sitcom from way back when, and Lauren Holly, who was Mary Swanson in Dumb and Dumber. I
Mhm.
believe she's Betty.
Mhm.
And there's only a few people who remember this movie for some reason, but everybody remembers rapping Jughead with okay.
Yeah. Didn't they bring that back on CW like in like a
Riverdale,
or
yeah,
something
that.
like that? I've never seen it, but yeah, it's like they brought the Archies back and a little bit different. But yeah. Well, what's your next honorable?
Next honorable mention I've been a fan of since I was younger, since I saw the 70s version and the failed early 2000s version with the late great Marky Post. That's Alexa Woman and Dinah Girl. This is
Mhm.
the movie with Grace Helbig and Hannah Hart from YouTube. It is just as fun as they are, really. And the best part of the movie for me is the ending. If you've seen The Boys and you know familiar with Black Noir, the main villain has the same problem he does, as do I, and I love that depiction.
Oh
Not
yeah.
100% accurate how that works, but it's good.
Hmm. Okay.
Uh,
Yeah.
yeah. Next honorable mention. I think this one also surprised you. Stan Lee's Lightspeed.
Yeah.
Yeah. This was a TV movie, I think. And what drew me to it again was the cast, like Nicole Eggert and the $6 million man himself, Lee Majors. Okay. Yeah. Um, this was, I guess he's a speedster, but you can't do it too much or it'll hurt him and you have to take some stuff. But that's maybe what I felt. But it's not a bad movie, not a bad story. Uh, good Saturday afternoon movie if you're not doing nothing.
Yeah, Lee Majors, man, $6 million man. I watched that a lot. The
Yeah.
syndication when I was a kid. He came back as Bruce Campbell's dad and the
Ash
Astro.
vs. Evil Dead. Yeah.
That's just great. Yeah, I think he's like, was it 80 something like that? No, yeah, I think he's still alive. Yeah, yeah, definitely. But
Yeah. And this next one, I left out originally, but now I know you're a wrestling fan like myself. Avengers of Justice Farce Wars. All right. So yeah, it's like a parody movie, Avengers, Justice League, and Star Wars.
oh yeah,
And what attracted me to it is you can see right there on the cover, WWE Hall of Famer Shawn Michaels
oh
as
well,
Yoda. That's Yoda. I mean yoga. And yes, he does play that sweet chin music.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, you got Simon Rex as the Joker or the Jokester. He does a great job. He's weirdly every live action Joker, from what he wears to how he speaks. I like how he pulled that off.
Yeah, Shawn
Uh,
Michaels is a pound for pound one of the best wrestlers I've ever seen. And just for a little guy, he
yeah,
on a lot of the big heavyweight wrestlers in his day. And
and
yeah,
that's the running joke that he's a big dude, but Shawn
yeah,
Michaels is like barely 6 foot. You can see on the cover they made him all huge, but
right.
yeah,
Yeah, he could make his stature look in the ring. He can make him, even against like Hulk Hogan, he can make himself look like he's taller than he was. He had that ability. Yeah, but he was great in the ring. But just yeah, some of his action in the ring. Just he was a really fast kind of wrestler at the time. But just surprised he didn't get more hurt than he did. He did get major back injury at one point, but it's surprised he ever came back from wrestling. Was that your last honorable?
the last one is not a comic book movie, but Marvel Comics did produce some comics that came out before the movie, and these take place before the movie Independence Day.
Hmm.
Yeah, these give you more information about certain characters. And yeah, like this is a movie I absolutely love,
Oh yeah.
like so much. Back in the 90s, everyone had that tape. And like I remember when my dad bought the tape at Best Buy, he was so excited to buy it. He told everyone I would listen, he told his friends, like everyone. And when we got home, we realized he already had that tape. So I guess now I have three of them because I now have his collection. So yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
got three of them. I got the DVD, which is two different versions right here. I got the Blu-ray. That's how much I love this movie. Will
Yeah.
Smith punching out an alien, like one of my childhood heroes. I love that because aliens was one of my childhood fears. So dude, he said the ET line every time because I don't like ET. He freaked me out as a kid. So like I can't wait to put PT ass. I'm like, yeah, yeah.
That's right. Yeah.
Huge
I love that
ensemble
movie.
cast.
I think I
Yeah,
own it like I own it. I've owned it like 3 or 4 times too. I have it on Blu-ray now, but yeah,
yeah.
classic the first one is. I didn't like Resurgence all that much, but
I thought it was okay. Yeah, huge ensemble cast, and I just just gets better every time, as Michael Keaton would say. But
yeah,
yeah,
Jeff Goldblum in it too. And,
yeah,
yeah,
Goldblum, yeah,
love that action. Was it has he was it Randy Quaid? Yeah,
Randy
from
Quaid, Bill Pullman, Vivica
yeah,
Fox, yeah,
yeah, love that movie.
and I
Okay,
was
go ahead and give your was that your last honorable?
last honorable mention.
Okay, and go ahead and give your number one.
On number one, um, Superman the movie, 1978. I mean,
Okay,
yeah,
you got the shirt
uh,
on. Yeah,
I'm
definitely.
wearing the shirt because Superman is my favorite hero of all time. That's and that movie, it's to me, it's perfect. You know, they did so good that the comics had to catch up. Christopher Reeve is Superman to me. Like you believe he was two different characters, the Superman and Clark Kent, and Margot Kidder as Lois Lane was spot on. Everything was so spot on, and your tagline, "You'll believe a man can fly." And you really will if you watch that movie. It's still awe-inspiring, and every time I watch it, it's like I'm a kid. She's like, "You got me, but who's got you?" Or when Chris Reeve was being all clumsy, or when Gene Hackman just being so cool, just like,
Yeah, it's one of the best. Yeah,
yeah. And this is one that got me in. Like, this is what got me into superheroes. Thanks to my dad showing me this movie and those flyers or cartoons from the '40s. So this is where it all began for me. Yeah,
yeah,
people love Henry Cavill, like what you like. Christopher Reeve is Superman to me.
right. Yeah, he's definitely my first Superman. Yeah, even though there was a TV show with was it George Reeves and a different
I
Chris.
actually have that right over here, and I would put it in like yeah, because he did a movie. So yeah,
Yeah,
but yeah,
yeah, that's a great number one pick. So my number five is Spider-Man 2. My box set out again, Spider-Man 2. Yeah, and it's more, I think this one's better than the first one overall. I really love the first one too. And I've got them both ranked in my top 20, but yeah, definitely. Like I said, we talked about the subway scene. That's one of the more memorable scenes where Spider-Man stops, saves everybody's life, and then kind of passes out, and then they look under the mask and they see it's a teenager. It's like this kid looks like my son's age. So it's really memorable, and I really like Tobey Maguire as Spider-Man. Didn't love the third one necessarily, but the first two were really great. And Tobey Maguire was a great Spider-Man. Um, okay, so my number four, I have the Avengers from 2012. This is as far as Tony getting all these characters together in one movie. Joss Whedon from Buffy the Vampire Slayer director. He did the first two Avengers movies, and I thought it did a great job bringing that many characters into one movie. Captain America, Hulk, Thor, Iron Man, Hawkeye, and Black Widow, all in one movie, and I thought he did a great job. In this movie at the time, and it spawned basically, you could say five movies in the Avengers series technically, if you consider Civil War to be like 2.5, like I mentioned earlier. But and then I've got number three. I have Spider-Man: No Way Home from 2021. It carried over, had a big box office in the beginning of 2022. Brought people back to theater at the time. Just at the time, a lot of people were afraid to go out in public and see movies, and this movie brought everybody back to see it. Got to see the three Spider-Man actors all in one movie. People had wanted to see that, and so it was rumored that Tom Holland kind of mentioned that. I don't know if the studio told him to say that, but he mentioned it'd be great if we had Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire back to have us all in one movie. It all worked. I thought that just you had that cast from the first two Tom Holland movies, Spider-Man movies, kind of mix in together with all these villains from previous Spider-Man movies. Just the action was really great. Aunt May, what happens to her character? That's shortly after that is when you see the two Spider-Man characters come from their I guess from their multiverse, or from their Earth, all kind of all in one Earth. So love No Way Home. Number two, I have The Dark Knight. It's also in the box set here. We got Heath Ledger, and won an Oscar after a posthumous Oscar after this. I thought he was a great Joker. It seems like everybody that plays Joker seems to be either previous Oscar winners or they win Oscars for playing the character, which is pretty odd to think of that character winning Oscars. It's the actors, getting them all in there. But I thought Heath Ledger was good there, and I like I like Christian Bale as Batman. Their movies are really long, but and really kind of dark. But I really like these. Okay, so my honorable mentions. I showed some of these earlier. This one's I guess considered to be a superhero. It's Brandon Lee as the Crow. He died tragically on set during the filming of this movie, and so it kind of gives it a little extra emotion there when you see him in this. You think this guy had so much potential. His dad was Bruce Lee. His dad died as well. Just the whole thing, it all worked. It all added up. It just very similar to like The Dark Knight, having somebody that died, before the movie was finished in production. Like Heath Ledger, it added a little extra. The movie was already really good, and then you add that in there. It's kind of emotional to think somebody died, before the movie was released in theaters, and when you see it, it kind of it means a lot more from that. I also have this one's based on a graphic novel. It's not a superhero movie, but when we originally put this together, we were going to do comic book based, and you did some comic book based and some superhero based, but I really like the first Sin City. I didn't like the sequel as much. That was way too late. I think it was like 8 or 9 years after the first one. But I really like how dark this is from Frank Miller. Made it really dark, and so I really like the characters in this. And then of course I showed this earlier, but when we talked about Blade, the first two Blade movies I thought were really good. We talked before where the Blade Trinity kind of didn't quite work. I like the main stars in it, like Triple H and Ryan Reynolds and Jessica Biel, all those characters. I like those characters, and the guy that played Dracula, all that worked. And of course Wesley Snipes, but then some of the supporting cast members were like comedians that didn't really fit in a dark movie. And that's what David S. Goyer had written the first two. He wrote all three, and then he directed the third one. And he said he wanted that kind of odd mix of actors in one movie, and it didn't work for me. I think it took the seriousness out of it when you have guys that you normally see play comedic characters and act characters in movies. To me, it didn't really work that well, but definitely the first two, and Blade 2 is definitely my favorite. Del Toro, he, like I said, he went on to be like this great Hollywood Oscar-winning director, and so I thought he made Blade 2 work a lot better. So as far as my number one, talked about this before. I always mention these two together, and I've got the two covers together this time. I consider Infinity War and Endgame to be really one story. They're two separate movies. I really like Infinity War more than Endgame. That's why it's hard for me to put Endgame like lower. So for me, it's kind of like Lord of the Rings. I consider Lord of the Rings to be one story. You really the first Lord of the Rings is like the beginning of the story. Two Towers is Fellowship of the Ring is the first. Two Towers is the middle story. It doesn't have a beginning or ending. And then the third Return of the King was that one that ended the story. So to me, those were all filmed back to back to back, and they're all telling one story. So whenever I rank Lord of the Rings, I always say I'll always put them at one spot. They're tied for whatever, where I have it ranked. So that's how I consider it anyway. Some people may not consider it that way, but so I consider Infinity War and Endgame to be number one together is telling one story. But I love the way that the end of the Iron Man, character at the end of that was really, really emotional. I really like the battle scene at the end of Endgame. Thought that was really great. There's a lot of stuff that led up to that I didn't like as much in Endgame. That's where Infinity War, I love the whole movie. So much action, and had that shocking ending at the end of Infinity War that nobody saw coming at the time. The shock heard around the world basically when they saw a lot of the Marvel characters just vanish all of a sudden. Like, what does this mean? and you had to wait like a year. This is 2018, 2019. You had to wait a year to find out how it was ended. That cliffhanger kind of thing. So really love that. So this, like I said, it was take two. We tried this before. The video didn't come out correctly. I didn't have. It was my fault the way it had it set up, and I think we got it right this time. I really appreciate Wilson for coming back and doing this with me. I think we actually kind of perfected this a little bit more. It kind of worked out a little better than it did the other night. So then I appreciate you coming back and doing this for me. And I'll get this all together. I'll put all the movie posters in with all of our picks and get it all set together.
And I appreciate that because I hate editing, man.
Yeah, I actually love editing. That's actually my favorite part of YouTube because I think I've gotten better at it. And you kind of craft the story a little bit better. Cut out some of the mistakes and kind of get closer to get a more tight video out of it. And you and I both watch Haunted Hippies channel on YouTube. Check her channel out. She does a lot of horror. I know that I don't do as much with Kylie's channel as I used to. Wilmeister does a lot more with her channel with the live streams, and it has really insightful takes on different movies. And I consider myself to be that. Before I was kind of that. I was kind of like that a lot. I gave a lot of I think a lot of interesting trivia kind of points, and then I noticed I wanted to let other people take over, to let people the regulars that can watch the show a lot more than I can, because I work a full-time job and I have 2 YouTube channels. I have this channel and I have Excelsior music reviews, so I don't really have time a lot to watch as much YouTube as I used to, but definitely follow her and follow the Wilmeister. He has a YouTube channel as well. He does a lot of like reaction videos and trailer reactions and movie reactions.
I also have 2 channels. Yes, the Wilmeister, but also the Wilmeister Does Gaming. And
Right.
We're playing so many games over there. It's like Sci-Fi Filter to the new Dead Space. It's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's all we have tonight. I'm gonna put all this together, edit everything together really tight, and and then but I appreciate Wilmeister for joining me tonight again, bailing me out after I messed up last time. But thanks everybody. Please put a like on the video if you like this content. Please subscribe and have a good night. Thank you, Wilson. I appreciate it. Thank you.
No problem.
Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah.
You're welcome.